Hi everyone, my name is Jed Green. I'm the director here at ORCA, Oklahoma's for Responsible Cannabis Action, and today we are joined by my guest, Representative Justin Humphrey.
Pleasure. Always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. I appreciate you coming on.
You bet. Glad to be here.
Yeah, you know, recently, now you're someone that has been willing to, talk with us at the Capitol the last couple of years. And, while we may not agree on everything at all times, you've always, been an open ear, and we appreciate that. And, we appreciate some of the help that you gave to us during this year's legislative session. So,
Jed, if you agree with me all the time, you're in deep stuff, son. You're in bad shape. So if you agree with me 50% of the time, you're probably doing all right.
Well, yeah, I can appreciate that. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit more. Obviously, our organization, we do nothing but cannabis. We're big cannabis nerds and all that, and that's what we stick on. It's our one topic. And I saw, I guess it's been a couple of weeks ago now,
right,
that you had come out and had issued some statements and talked about potential issues surrounding OMMA, and this was seems to have been kind of predicated by OMMA layoffs.
Sure, and it was what the layoffs are what kind of instigated that we moved. But I've been talking to people, and as well, because you come and visit me, you're representing your organization very, very well. And so we visited quite a bit. You made me aware of issues. I get called by lots of people who are wondering why that we can't seem to get our process moving. So they're trying to get licensed. They're trying to open a business. And guess what? They may be 6 months trying to get a license. We're looking at, are they actually going out and inspecting? Are they actually going out and doing physical inspections? And so I get calls like that all the time. I got called by some whistleblowers over probably a year and a half ago. They got cold feet. So about a year ago, we actually started meeting, and they were revealing to me things that were really, really troubling. For instance, that we are making massive purchases, it appears. They showed me all this. Now, I'm not an accountant, but I do understand some of this stuff quite a bit, working in government and all the things that I've done. But they were showing no purchase orders by large purchases, no contracts with companies that we ought to be doing contracts with. Same kind of stuff you saw in Swadley's. I was on that investigation team. Kind of the same stuff. So we spent about a year putting things together that I think make a really, really good case for the state auditor to look at. Very, very good case. A lot of red flags that would seem to suggest some problem things, as well as, they collect a lot of money. Where's the money going? And so when they went to lay off 30 people, it's like, my gosh, man, y'all should be cash flush. And instead you're saying we're broke. And then the one that's why we decided, because the director put out in writing that the reason that she was rifting these people was because her fees were down. Well, back in the day, they may have collected some fees. Now we are budgeting them. So they get 100% of their appropriation through the legislator. So her saying my fees are down is a lie. I mean, there's nothing else to call it but a lie. And so I was able to lay hold of a email that she had put that out to a news station. And then I went back and pulled our budget and showed this is absolutely not true. And then meeting with some more people who were rifted. So now we've got more whistleblowers coming, and we're just finding more and more information out, as well as a lot of people from your industry are calling and saying, hey, where's all the money? And showing, seeming to have some documentation on, hey, there ought to be a lot more funds there. And so I think that we're going to move forward trying to collect that information from people like you who can provide that information, and we'll take it. I know you may have already taken some to the state auditor yourself, possibly, but if you need help, and a lot of times with the legislator going with you on that. So again, that's the stuff we're trying to do. Not saying that we've got them on anything illegal, but I can say there's a lot of red flags that make it look very, very interesting. And then why aren't you doing your job?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, appreciate, the attention that any lawmakers give to any state agency when there are kind of questions here. Transparency, especially when we're talking about the money,
Sure.
is a really, really important thing. And yeah, we've had a lot of questions for a long time that predate our current director and go back in time. There are some simple facts. One of the simple facts is that over the last 6 years, that budget allocations to OMMA, be it when they were under the Department of Health or as a freestanding agency, the state has not moved to expend more than $200 million on enforcement over that entire time. When you add up fees, business fees, patient fees, excise tax, and the state portion of the sale tax that have been charged on this, we're up $640 million on a fairly conservative estimate.
Right.
So we know that our industry has generated approximately $440 million additional revenue to the state, and so that money has been there. We'd really like to know where some of it's spent. We can see where some of those dollars were sent to the Redbud Fund.
Right.
What we the people voted on was that the cost of regulating our industry would be covered, and then any excess money goes to education and mental health. That's
Sure.
simple. Now that's been moved around some and so on and so forth, and I think an unantagonistic question is just real simple. We just kind of like to see what's happened over the last 6 years.
I don't mind being
that.
antagonistic.
Well, I know you don't.
I got crave.
I appreciate it. Well, see, I wake up some mornings and I'm feeling kind of chill, and sometimes I wake up and choose violence. You never know.
I pretty much. I don't think anybody's going to accuse me of not going after them like a biting hog. I'm on DOC. I'm on DHS. I'm on the DAs like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
We're turning over DOC just almost daily on stuff, and so again, all our agencies are problematic. I will just tell you, every agency has got just massive levels of problems and for lack of a better word, corruption, I think. And so it's time that people start calling them out. The problem is when we call them out, if you're kind of a single person that does that all the time, well, you're a troublemaker, you're just somebody who just likes to stir it up. Hey, I do like to stir it up. When we're talking about $600-something million of tax people's money and business people's money, and we can't account for 400-something million, I don't know about you guys, but a $500 million close is a lot of money for the state of Oklahoma. And there ought to be some accountability. And when we're looking at that, it's not only where's that $500 million, but we just got sued because our mental health people are not doing a good job and not getting those funds out to and the services out to the people that need to. And then guess what? We see people who shouldn't go to prison going to prison because of mental health issues because we got nowhere to put them because we're not getting proper funding. Again, we need to look at them. They're getting funding and not using it correctly. But that's the whole problem throughout the whole process. And so, yes, absolutely, we, government, are accountable to the people, and they need to explain where this money is going. We've got to do a good job to, me and you had a conversation a little bit about this, but we've got to do a good job. I think you do have the proof to show where's the money and show that the money should be there, and here's the collections, here's the money, where's it at? And that's what we have to do and hold their feet to the fire, and I think that's what at least I'm intended to do.
Well, and I mean, when we talk about the intentions, our organization and the folks that support us, the number one, one of the big things for us is just a fair accounting of just how much this industry, the legal industry, has done for the state.
Right.
And there's no one that's been more harmed by all the illegal activity than us. We're fighting back right now against just about every gas station in the state having THC in it that's completely illegal.
Right.
Yet we're getting beat up over things like a certificate of occupancy that we were told we didn't need to have until we were told we needed to have it. And in the meantime, we've lost probably 20-30% market share to sales that there is no excise tax on.
Jed,
You know?
I think people need to hear, and I think the group that we're talking to understands this, but in case there's people out there that doesn't, you're not looking to destroy OMMA. You're looking to make it run. You need it. Your industry needs a honest broker that will be honest and keep things like what we're talking about. Make sure that the licensed people are the ones who are getting, because they're the ones who paid, they're the ones being inspected, they're the ones that are set up legally in this process. And we need more inspections. We need not big players who have big money coming in and buying off politicians so that we pass a law that says, hey, you can do whatever you want willy-nilly, here it is, while other people are having to pay. So those are things that we're wanting to get taken care of, and I'm 1,000% with that. I'm 1,000%. You know, I want to tell you that and I'm pretty vocal on this. I'm a law enforcement officer. Me and you've had that conversation. I originally voted against legalization, but here's where I'm at. When the state of Oklahoma and the people of Oklahoma said, hey, we don't agree with Humphrey, well, then it's not my job to stand up and say, I disagree. It's legal, and it's my job to make sure it works as the people who voted that in ordered it to be. And that's the thing that we're seeing, is that we have set this thing up to work like it should be, but people are bastardizing that program. And again, where's this money that you're showing that should be there? And again, if we're saying 400 million to 500 million, that's a lot of clout. That's a lot of cash. You know, are we getting inspections? It doesn't look like it. You know what I'm saying? Are these inspections taking place virtually? Are they taking place in person? Because you know that if I'm going to have virtual inspection, hey, I'm going to get away with a whole lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So again, are we getting personal inspections? I think you're supposed to have 2 a year. Is that happening? And then why are all the licenses, you know, I mean, hey, if we were a little backed up at a time, but from my understanding, we're backed up at least 6 months, and that's all the time. And people cannot get into a business. And so again, we've got a massive problem, and I think that the state auditor is on it. But let me also tell everybody, when you say, oh, well, the state auditor's on it, that means they're going to get something criminal. The state auditor just looks at stuff and says, hey, there's the numbers don't add up, or this, that. Then you have to get somebody else to investigate. And so again, what I'm trying to do is go in and find the actual laws that are violated, come back and say, here's a statute that's violated, and send that over to the AG and say, okay, let the state auditor find the money. Let the state auditor say things weren't done right policy-wise or whatever. She can also say, hey, there's something that would help their case, you know, if illegal. But let's find those illegal statutes, the actual crime, the actual evidence. I'm pretty good at that. And then let's take it over to the AG. I will tell you, a lot of times they do not want to pursue, you know, let's look at Swadley's. You have 3 people charged in Swadley's, which were the 3 private people. Do you think there's any way in heck that they could do that by themselves? Somebody had to do the contracts. Somebody had to do the purchase orders. When you look at Epic, they've been charged with stealing about $55 million. Do you think 3 guys can take $55 million from the state education department and there not be people over on state education? That is total, for lack of a better word, will be family friendly, but that's BS. That's some serious BS, okay? That's some ugly BS. So again, that's where I'm trying to come forward and go, look, here's the people, here's the players in the state, because they're the ones letting it happen. And to me, they're worse than the people that we're charging, because people we're charging is trying to make money, but these people have the responsibility to make sure that they answer to the people. It's not their money. It's the state's money. It's the people's money. And so again, that's who we need to answer to, and that's who we need to be accountable to. And if there's anybody that does have, you can get a hold of either one of us, and Jed will make sure I get it. But we need documented, we need actual proof that these crimes are going on.
Well, and that's and I think that's one thing that's really important for all of y'all to know. You know, I'm big on processes over here, and I work to try to help make sure everyone understands the legislative process. So in this process, like Justin, like you were saying, this is what the auditor is doing right now with the performance audit is simply looking to see how effective the agency is within their core functions, which are typically licensure. That is the number one priority. The foundation of an agency is to get people licensed. If you can't get people licensed, you don't really have a lot of business even moving on to enforcement.
Well, that's what's funding your office. That's what you're there for. I mean, that's the main function. If you can't do your main function, how are you going to do all these others? But I do want to say this, Jed. Yes, they are looking at that audit in a manner that you say.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one of the other reasons we came forward when we did,
Mm-hmm.
is because guess what? We don't have to go down there and show and say, hey, governor or somebody else, would you order an audit? There's already an audit ordered. Now we can come in and go, oh, by the way, while y'all's looking at that, let us dump, and we've dumped volumes of all kinds of things, contracts, no purchase orders. One of the things that looked like one of the top CFOs was trying to do business with the company that his spouse worked for. And again, two of our HR people caught that. They called them all in and said, leave all your devices outside so that they couldn't tape. Somebody didn't get the memo, by the way, and they end up taping it. And it seems I can't say that he committed a crime or whatever, but based on what was said on this tape, it seems like there's some problems verified. It seems like there's some information that it most certainly warrants investigation. And if that's going on, that's where you step off into some criminal stuff. If they are doing contracts without a contract, then you're looking at why do you violate. So that's the question. Why would you, as a CFO or a director of a state agency, violate policy over and over and over again? Because the only reasons that I know people do that are generally nefarious. Generally it's not for good purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so being an investigator, it's not paranoia if it's real, okay? And so I'm a paranoid individual, but I find out most of the stuff I go to investigating are real, and we've got the documentation. It's not a figment of our imagination. I've looked at some of your stuff. It's not a figment of your imagination. You've done a very good job documenting, and those are the kinds of things that we're bringing to the state auditor and say, hey, this is way more than just a little audit to see if somebody's doing a halfway decent job. I think that's pretty easy to see. If you're backed up 6 months, you ain't doing it.
Yeah. Well, and on behalf of all of us who have been on the other side of law enforcement for some period of time, it's not paranoid, it's prepared.
Right.
So, but that is, but that's that's really the thing, and in all of that, I think the biggest question that our community and industry has had over how the money has been spent.
Sure.
We want it to come out and be able to be shown that all this went to education and everyone knows, hey, the weed people did something good for the state.
Sure.
Right?
That's the way it's supposed to be. That's why it passed.
And it did it. But we're not, we just get kicked around. We'd like to be able to see that. Now, the big question that is in everyone's mind, and this hadn't been something that's, been in the last 3 years, but it appears that in the early days, when there was just the revolving fund was kind of a slush fund, when OMMA phone operators were taken from OMMA by the Department of Health, the people who are supposed to support our industry, were taken and they became the call center for the COVID stuff.
Right.
Okay. In that same area, that period of time, there was a fund with a lot of money in it, and all of a sudden, the state purchased a $30 million building downtown from an energy company that was in bankruptcy, moved into it, fixed it up, and then a couple of years later sold the building, and then were moved over into the Connor Center.
Yeah,
and
so they got in the real estate business.
And so the thing is I hope that I am wrong, and I hope that but we had protests down there over this, and that is something that has never been. It is neatly up underneath the rug somewhere, and I would love to see and have it proven to me that, Jed, you got it all wrong. This money went to education. It was not used to transfer dollars from this fund via this, bail someone out of bankruptcy, and then mess around and then the money comes back and gets somewhere else.
Jed,
That is the $30 million question while we're, if we're looking at this stuff.
I turned in some stuff that COVID money being embezzled. I've turned in some, if you looked at the education, they have a fund called School Land, and it looked like it was improperly being invested. Like they have people over it that are investing through their companies, which would make them a lot of money. Normally, when we have money set up like it is specified what use, so you can't just go in there to a fund and just go, you know what, we think we'll just borrow this money for a second and we're going to get involved in the real estate. We're going to help our little friend out over here, because that's generally what it's about. Somebody's got a building that they want to sell, and we'll help you out for a minute, boom, they get the money back, and that's all cool. But guess what? It should be illegal, because you can't use that money. This is not certain people's top level of government's private slush fund that they can, we'll just do that and we'll borrow it and we'll just give it back. No. And again, when we're talking $30 million, what kind of interest does that draw? How long did you have that out of there? And again, did you make a profit on this building? And do you have the authority, and who gave you the authority? So we have to look into all that. I can tell you, you're the first person that brought that to my attention. Mm-hmm. It's funny because I do know of the purchases that you're talking about, and I wondered that myself, and I did bring it up. DOC actually had an office move, so they moved their headquarters downtown into a certain building, which and here's I called them out because they have to get legislative approval. So I called them in a budget meeting. Did you get legislative approval? Well, we talked to the speaker and we talked to the Senate budget. I said, that's called legislators. I'm talking, did you get legislative? That means we all voted on it. No, we did not. Okay, that's illegal. I brought the statute with me to show that's illegal. Has anybody said a word about that? No. So yes, there's things we can look into on that, and should look into, and should raise some cane if we're able to prove that. And if you will get me that information, I'm pretty good at raising cane. I'll raise three kinds of hair.
Well, and that's the thing, is I think that it is perfectly fair on behalf of every taxpayer in the state of Oklahoma to simply say, we just want transparency in where the money was spent. And if it was not put in the right place, then can we get it put back? And we just want we've been through hell with these agencies, and I know a lot of folks have, but I'd be willing to venture that Cannabis could tell you some stories that you have never heard from anyone else. At the end of the day, all we want is what's promised every business in Oklahoma, and that's to be the most business friendly environment. We got to take away we want the most business friendly environment, asterisk, unless you're Cannabis, and then we're doing everything we can to choke your ass out with bureaucratic red tape.
Well, Jed, right now, I think the door got kicked open. I think what we did with the state having the audit was not going to be a big deal, because it was just going to be, are they functioning properly? And they'd have come back and said, you're not doing some things here, correct this, and they would have said big deal and kept right on doing what they're doing. With us showing up with all the information we had, I think we kicked the door open, but I don't want to send false hope. I wouldn't say we kicked the door wide open. I'd say we got our foot in the door. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
but it's time to kick it wide open. The opportunity to kick the door open with your group. If you have information, send it to Jed. Jed's going to get it to me, and we're going to try to kick the door wide open. And again, y'all are the step. Nobody minds y'all getting beat on a little bit. So you're the stepchildren of the state agencies.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So you're going to have to stand up for yourself. You're going to have to, and it's going to have to be pretty big. But I would say $400-something million. I would say purchasing buildings without proper authorization. Those are some things. Those are big allegations that need to be looked into. And if we can show up with some actual proof of those things and call that in right now, again, she's not going to be able to issue charges, but if she'll come out with a document going, you're right, and you're right, Humphrey, you brought this, and you're right. If we can do that, well, guess what? Then we can go a lot further and then we can go to AGs and jump up in demand.
Well, and I'll say this, watching the auditor's office over the 6 years that she's been in office,
She's done a good job.
I don't put faith in politicians, but I'll tell you, I've been impressed with the office's performance under Auditor Byrd. I mean, she's definitely gone in and looked at some stuff. She got a lot of experience. And
she faded some heat. She faded some heat.
Yeah,
let me tell you something. She faded heat on Epic when she did the Epic one.
Yeah,
she faded some heat.
Yeah, she did,
and she walked through.
She did. So. Well, and that's the thing. She ain't scared.
No.
So and it's one of those things where all we want is in the process. If the auditor will do what the auditor does and does a very good job of, from what we've seen, then there's your accounting. And then it is for the Attorney General to look at those findings and determine if they believe that there is anything that needs to be prosecuted. It's kind of a step one, step two.
Right.
And we just hope that the auditor takes the time that she needs, that her office is thorough. They seem like nice folks over there.
I can tell you this, she took time enough to meet with me and 4 other people who represent the employees who were rifted, and she took a lot of time. I went down there and introduced them and told her I talk too much. I'm going to get out of the room so I don't suck up all the air. I'm going to get out of here so I don't suck up all the air and let her have it. And then I went back and showed some things that I personally had and had a conversation. And I believe that she will do due diligence, and I think that she will do a good job. I've seen her do that in the past. I just want people to understand she's not going to be able to file criminal charges. But what she does, she brings legitimacy to the issues that we're bringing before.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's just this is the first audit of any kind in 6 years.
Right.
With what is and I'll just tell you, when when people start thinking weed money, they start doing all sorts of crazy shit. So I just want to make sure that that's that's there now. I just wanted to touch on one more thing while I got you here, and that is you'd kind of mentioned it earlier, but I want everyone to be aware that Justin, that you've done a hell of a lot of work the last several years, going and working to hold the DOC and the district attorneys accountable. Now, it shouldn't be any surprise that while a lot of y'all that tune in here to Cannabis Land, you may not be aware of this, and that's a lot of stuff. You've got programming that you do that kind of keeps folks in the know, and we're going to encourage folks to kind of check that out, because
check out what we're fixing to do with the DAs. We've went on DHS, so we're kind of waiting until OMMA stuff settles down. We're going to come out with DHS asking for an investigation. I found a way. Normally I couldn't order it, but I found a way around the governor, around everybody else, that I think we can get an investigation ordered where they've actually waterboarded kids in a mental health place, where they're actually sexually abusing, allegedly, all these is allegedly, sexual abusing, those kind of things, trafficking kids. DAs are committing fraud on probation. I've tracked $55 million. I can prove they're doing fraud. This is the DAs. And so we're going to come out and we're going to ask for charges on the DAs. Now, I doubt we get that, but I'm going to do a press conference and go, hey, don't take my word. Here's the document. Here's the document. I've already looked up 40,000, because they say, oh, no, it's not true. Yeah, I got 40,000 entries of supervision fees. They can't deny it. So I've worked my hiney off. That tracks down to 55 million. I've tracked it to 4 counts. They gave it to the state. When they gave that $55 million, they committed fraud. I've tracked the money back around. We gave them an increase in money. That's called money laundering, by the way. And it comes into their budget so they can use it how they want. We're going to try to, I am doing a lot of stuff on corruption in government. So
yeah, and guys, I just guys and gals at home, I just wanted to a lot of y'all didn't really know who Justin Humphrey was. Y'all seen that come out. I know a lot of y'all appreciate the attention that's being given to it, and so I wanted to get an opportunity for all y'all to see what he had a little bit to say about more of some of this, and just so y'all know that that not all the lawmakers up there are sitting there working on doing things in a shady manner. Some of them are actually working to put transparency on it. And again, it's Justin, I really appreciate your time.
You bet.
And
very glad to meet with anybody in the industry who has information. And I know you have a lot of information. We're going to work together I want people to know that we are going to work together to even provide more information and a great opportunity to get it. Right now's the time to go.
Yep. And for everyone that loves or doesn't love either of the both of us, again, our goal is we just want to get some transparency. We just want to know where the money's at, and make sure that OMMA is successful in supporting the industry that has been of a big benefit to this state.
Absolutely.
All right. I
Y'all have a
appreciate
blessed
Justin.
day.